I'll call the meeting to order. The first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you're able and join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Does anyone have anything not on tonight's agenda? Please.
Hi, Pam Caffrey. Do I give my address? No, just that? Pam Caffrey. I think some of you have heard from me before, but I'm here tonight because I have been going through this issue with the Transportation Department since beginning of July of last year. And recently I have gone to great lengths. I have gone through protocol of the chain of command and speaking about this, but I'm being ignored. And the issues aren't being covered, but laws are being broken. And I don't see where there is a need, and I'm talking specifically for anybody that doesn't know or hasn't heard that in my complaints and issues about the Specialized Transportation Department not doing on-bus emergency evacuation drills for over 2 years. We're talking special needs students. Some can't walk. Most, when they start at 3.5 years old. They're in car seats. Some are nonverbal. Some are, depending on what their disabilities are, which that's another issue, that these aren't even being relayed to the bus drivers and monitors so that they're being trained and supported in ways to know how to deal with these children. And just recently, which is why I'm here and have spurred this argument again when I really should be focusing my attention on my own son with special needs and what his future will be as he graduates and has the next 2 years that that he qualifies for services. I can't keep looking back, but I'm here because I'm going to speak for every single student that takes the minibus and is not being given the decency of good transportation. You as a district decided to have an in-house transportation system. Personally, I'd prefer to deal with somebody who has a contract, because that would have been negotiated and standards would have been outlined. But here, I can't get a straight answer from anyone. But yet, you're breaking state laws. You receive state and federal funds. Transportation, it's in the superintendent's checklist. It's in your own school committee policy that it specifically says you are to do twice a year on-bus emergency evacuations. Perhaps we should just start telling kids when fire drills are done once a month, don't get up, sit down. We're just gonna go through it with you. Here's a little outline. But you know what? You don't have to leave the school in case of an emergency. It'll never happen. Should we start doing that? Because that's basically what you're saying to the students and kids that need the most guidance, the most help, extra help. And what you're disrespecting the students and the parents that need this service that you chose to provide in district. And it is not just emergency evacuation drills. It's the whole, and you know it because the parents are inundating me with complaints about the Transportation Department. And now, an incident in the Mary Kay Good School just happened to happen, where an emergency evacuation had to be done. And had that emergency not been done in the parking lot of the Mary Kay Good School, what would have happened? Where would you, and I challenge any one of you to ride a minibus? Because the way that I hear that, oh, minibus drivers, they got it easy, it's so easy, I don't know what they're complaining about. I challenge you to drive a route, to work with these kids, to know what their disability is, know what their triggers are. How do you even know, because you haven't done it in over 2 years, since 2019? what would happen, or how each one of those students from kindergarten up through the high school react in the event of an emergency. And when one actually happens, you were lucky as a school district that it happened in the parking lot of a school. And then come April vacation, a specialized transportation department meeting was held, and I believe the topic was emergency evacuations. And they were told that Massachusetts doesn't require that on-bus evacuations have to happen, we just have to read through it so that the bus drivers and the monitors know what to do. And that tells you what lack of training and experience the supervisor of the transportation department has dealing with special ed. I'm not going to negate the fact that she's been a bus driver forever. She will tell you a million times. But she is not experienced in special ed, and you as a school committee, you as a school district, have literally broken the law. And you're stonewalling me. I asked a month ago to be put on this agenda because this is a district problem. This is not a school-related incident, one school, one child. This is every single special ed and kindergarten child in this district. And the fact that you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to solve it, blows me away. And honestly, I have never had a problem with anything in this district. Special ed program, spectacular. Absolutely love every single one of Dean's teachers and administrators up until now. Since 2019, I have had an issue with this person, with this department and the way it's run. I want to be heard. There's no reason to investigate. There's no reason to research. It's right here in your own policy. You voted on it and chose to have it as a part of the school committee policy. It's in your checklist, you know, and it has not been done. And why the DOT and RMV have not fined the transportation department is beyond me, but I will find out. And if I don't get heard, and if it doesn't become something that you show you want to solve, a problem you want to solve, then I will go to the media, and I will go to my state representatives and senators. Because I can't believe that you aren't knocking down the door to get this resolved. You are putting children's lives, special needs children's lives at risk. And that's because you don't know them. You don't know what it's like. You don't know all the disabilities that are in this district. So this is why I'm here, because Dean, I got to look to his future, but I will not let one child go on that bus until I have done absolutely everything I can do to see that those buses are safe and it's run by a person that's experienced and cares. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I might respond.
Sure.
Mrs. Caffrey sent me a detailed email yesterday. She was informed by the chair to go through the proper channels. She had gone through the director of supervision, of transportation. She had gone through the director of business and finance. You had not communicated with me directly, which you did yesterday.
I did.
When you brought this to my attention, I'm responding to your concerns. You brought this to my attention yesterday. I responded back to you saying I'm going to look into all of the matters that you brought to my attention. It was a very detailed memo, lengthy memo. And I responded to you saying that I would be back in touch with you after I did some discovery, basically, which I have done and begun to do. I have already directed the Director of Transportation, of Special Ed Transportation, to hold bus evacuations by the end of May for all of our buses. I have discovered since 2019, thanks to you, that we have not been doing those. We used to do them all the time. We used to do them regularly. This will begin in earnest once again. There will be twice a year, just like the school policy says and the rule says. That was not something I was aware of, and I blame myself for that. I should have been aware of
Appreciate
that,
that.
but I was not aware of that, and I thank you for bringing that to my attention.
I appreciate that.
The school policy does state that all students,
Absolutely.
not special ed students and not regular ed students, but all students.
I love all students, but
And
they
I-
get enough.
I-
I gotta
I-
fight for the special ed ones.
I totally agree with that. I addressed this with the director, again, of student transportation, special ed student transportation today. She misinterpreted a rule that was published by the Registry of Motor Vehicles, which does say that every school bus transporting special needs students has to have a plan for evacuation. That's where it stops. It does
I
not.
disagree with that.
But
I've
it- but
met with
that's-
her,
but
and
that's-
she specifically told me, she knew because we asked Sarah. Sarah's been in every single meeting. In fact, I've never been able to have a meeting without Sarah. She told me directly, she knew exactly what she was supposed to do, because Sarah asked, oh, can we do it with maybe other stand-in students? And Mary Jane was like, no, absolutely not. We need to do it with special ed students, the actual students.
I think,
So-
Mrs. Caffrey, that was her interpretation of a Registry of Motor Vehicles passage that's in the driver manual that says every bus needs to have a plan.
Well,
Every
it's
bus
in
does
her,
have a
but
plan.
it's in her job description, her very own job description.
And those items will be addressed with her.
And you know, you are very well versed in the problems you are having with this department and how it is run. She may be very well in budgeting. I'm sure but she has never once driven a minibus. She has never once boarded them. She will not talk to parents when they call her with concerns. Bus drivers end up showing up, even though they leave messages with dispatch that their
can't-
child won't be.
I can't speak to all those individual concerns.
But
I can
Sarah
tell you
Hickey
that
can, because she's the one that's taken all the notes for these
Ma'am, with all due
meetings.
respect, how you characterize the drivers and how people think about the drivers, I don't think anyone thinks it's an easy job. No one, certainly up here. No one in the school
That's
system.
good.
No one in the school system thinks that. We know how difficult the job is. We have monitors on board to help the drivers, to assist them.
But look at what you're allowing, which you've flagrantly for over 2 years.
It was not flagrant. I would not characterize it as flagrant. I would characterize it as me not being aware that we were not doing it. So it was addressed immediately when I found out. I thank you for that, and it will not happen again. It will continue. We will go back to bus evacuations starting by the end of May. Every student will be instructed in bus evacuations, and we are going to move on in a positive way. And I will respond directly to all of your other concerns in your email. I just received it yesterday. I was in meetings all day. I read it about 5 o'clock last night, and I responded immediately back to you when I read it,
But I believe I
saying I'm not
CC'd you
prepared
when
to give you a
when
full
I-
response. I'm sorry.
I believe I CC'd you when I emailed on April 13th, Richard Young. And he was going to get back to me, but, you know. All I want is for you guys to do the right thing. These kids are your responsibility. You know, the bus evacuations, that's one issue. And I appreciate the fact that you are going to do your job and hold them. I'm sure the kids will appreciate it and the parents will. But it's only one issue, and you know that. And we have to fight for every freaking thing that we try to get for our kids. We have to be lawyers ourselves. And the fact that I have to stand here and not trust the school district on transportation, you know, it's not right. It's not right that we have to fight for every single thing because you overlooked something that's everywhere. Or that you chose to not look at the job, or she didn't look at the job description she was hired for. It's not a part-time job. You have 5 schools in this district. She should be working like every single one of you, hardworking, 5 days a week, school hours. So she's there for us. We're not here for her. She is here to work for the students and parents that take specialized transportation. But I appreciate that you're going to get the bus evacuations done. Thank you.
Any items from school committee members? Yes.
I just wanted to remind the general public that we are hitting the end of the school year with the Middleborough High School Adopt a Senior program. So if you have a student who's a senior and you're a parent out there who's watching, if you have not filled out that survey, I'd really just like to ask you to do that because we really want to make sure that every single senior is honored appropriately. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? I will turn it over to the MEA co-presidents who will give a, come on down. Oh, here comes Kate. Sorry, Kate, I jumped the gun when you were out of the room.
There was only one chair. She went to find one. Thank you for having us. Basically, we don't have a lot to report on today. We are in the home stretch now. We're in the middle of AP exams at the high school, which is pretty exciting. The Math MCAS is going to be the 17th and 18th of May, and then the Bio MCAS is going to be in June. So we're heading down the road here. And seniors' last day is coming up fast, May 26th, I believe. So home stretch it is.
Schools. Math is next week and the following, one day each week. And science for fifth grade only the week of May 24th and 25th. And I think we reported last time that we're doing it differently this year and it's working really well. All grade levels are testing at the same time, a lot less days and a lot less disruption to our schedule, which is great. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. We want to thank the parent groups who have reached out to many of the schools and celebrated our teachers and staff with some nice treats, and it continues even tomorrow, we hear. And that's about all we have for this report, but we thank you again for having us here.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Kate or Sam? Seeing no one, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Natalia is not joining us tonight. She is in North Carolina at her sister's graduation from college. And with that, I'll turn it over to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the committee, members of the audience. I want to bring you up to date on some COVID-19 cases that we have in our school district. If you follow the dashboard, we did have a little bit of a spike after April vacation. We went to 11 last Friday, and as of today, we are up to 20. So we are definitely seeing a bit of an increase. The press is sort of looking at this as a dominant form of the virus, and it's called BA 2.1, but it's the latest variant of the COVID-19, and it is basically responsible for about 40% of the cases, the current cases. In the town of Middleborough, we are certainly up, but we are still at a point about 0.02%. The report from the health department from the town of Middleborough basically states that we're at about 0.02%, and we did have a bit of a spike. I spoke with her yesterday. We had a bit of a spike, and hopefully that will go away, and we'll not be dealing with that anymore. So that's basically the quick COVID-19 report, that we are up a little bit. We're not at 0 anymore, but we're not at 100 either, so hopefully we'll go down from 20. Any questions on that, folks? Okay. Up next on my report is a discussion of a mindfulness program that we have in place at the elementary level. And I want to sort of introduce Lisa White and Derek Thompson, both principals at the complex. I want to begin by talking a little bit about our school committee policy on instructional programs and curriculum. And our policy IHA, which is called Basic Instructional Program. And it starts by saying state law requires that schools shall give instruction and training in orthography, which is spelling, reading, writing, the English language and grammar, geography, arithmetic, drawing, music, the history and Constitution of the United States, the duties of citizenship, health education, physical education, and good or positive behavior. We also have a policy IGA, curriculum development. In that policy, school committee policy, it says constant adaptation and development of the curriculum is necessary if the district is to meet the needs of the students in its schools. To be successful, curriculum development must be a collaborative enterprise involving staff and administrators utilizing their professional expertise. And finally, IGD is curriculum adoption. And finally, it says the school committee will rely on its professional staff to design and implement instructional programs and courses of study that will forward the educational goals of the school system. The superintendent will have the authority to approve new programs and courses of study after they have been thoroughly studied and found to support our educational goals. The committee itself will consider and officially adopt new programs and courses when they constitute an extensive alteration in instructional content or approach. And I would argue that this program is basically a supplement to our SEL programming that we've had in place, to our positive behavior interventions, to all of our management strategies that we've had in place in the history of our school system from the very get-go, because that's such an important part of school and schooling is positive behavior and positive behavior strategies on the part of teachers. So we welcome Mr. Thompson and Mrs. White here this evening, and folks, you can take it away.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson is getting the slideshow ready, so thank you for this evening, Mr. Lynch, Chairman, members of the school committee. Before we begin, and while Mr. Thompson's getting our slideshow ready, I do say thank you to our parents of Mary Kay Good. I know parents of HBB, PTAs of both schools for the overwhelming support for our staffs this week. It's been amazing. They are, I don't, it's preaching to the choir. I know, you all have children in our schools and know the hard work that they do every single day. So to the families out there that donated, to the families out there that were part of Teacher Appreciation Week, we want to say thank you on behalf of our entire staffs, and we greatly appreciate that. So thank you. So thank you for this opportunity tonight to discuss the mindfulness program. Are we ready?
Almost.
So social emotional learning is not something new to Middleborough. Social emotional learning and learning behaviors are embedded in everything we do every single day in our classrooms. We have been working with Character Strong and Purposeful People, that program for 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years now. We've used Superflex as part of our social thinking program, and our children use that language every day. We've also been discussing for the last few years having a growth mindset in all aspects of learning. Adding the mindfulness program was not a response to COVID specifically. It was something that we had already talked about prior to. Timing was certainly in line with providing our students with.
I apologize. I
Yeah.
think I broke.
He broke the machine. Although the timing certainly is in line with, with providing our students with supports coming out of the pandemic, but it's not only that. It's really about strategies for lifelong, these lifelong strategies of self-awareness and management that our students are going to need, now and into their careers here in Middleborough. And now I'm going to go to the slides. Maybe.
Slight pause.
I'm like,
I'm going to try and plug this in down there and see if it goes
you broke it.
on. I know.
Those folks at home, perhaps, we're having some technical difficulties with the slideshow that we want to present this evening.
So to answer your question, no, you can't.
Now I have to read up there. Here we go. So as I said, social emotional learning isn't anything new, that we're doing it every single day in our classrooms. So why do we need a specific mindfulness program then? Well, just some statistics to look at behind our decisions. Nationally, the national increase of mental health issues over the past several years. COVID, as we know, resulted in restrictions in socialization, took rising feelings of loneliness and depression and supercharged them and exacerbated them for many of our students. A coalition of children's hospitals and physicians urged Congress to treat this mental health crisis like the emergency it is, citing a 45% increase in the number of self-injury and suicide cases from 5 to 17-year-olds in the first half of 2021. Important support to our SEL programming is social thinking and purposeful people and PBIS, which we have been doing in our schools for more than 5 years. Specific data to our schools, HBB, the 2021 survey data, 60% of students reported that school makes them nervous or anxious. 45.7% of students reported being worried about next school year. 69% of the parents and 47% of teachers also reported being concerned for their students for next year. In in MKG, 71% of parents and 52% of teachers reported being concerned about their child for next year. 31% of our students reported that they feel they're unable to remain calm when stressed, angry, or someone bothers them. So the important piece of this is, the focus rate, as it looks with COVID, yes, it is a need, but this is definitely before COVID. Definitely, we were working with our mindfulness, and we were working with our growth mindset, and we were working with purposeful people, and prior to COVID. And I think because we did those things with purposeful people prior to COVID, our kids had already some resiliency in them, and that's huge. And this is just another layer added to what we've already been doing as part of our program.
So I'm going to take it from here. So talk a little bit about what Calmer Choice is, what Calmer Choice isn't. So a mindfulness program, I know at HBB, and I know my colleagues will attest to this, has been something I've been advocating for a long time. I really have felt like it was the last.
Excuse me, Derek, could you move the mic over so clear? There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you,
got
sorry.
it.
I'm louder than you.
Mindfulness program has been something I've been advocating for a number of years because, as Mrs. White said, we can see an increase in anxiety, kids having a hard time focusing, settling down. I think it's just a constant rush in a school day. We're trying to get through things, and we never stop. We never just slow things down, and in many ways, that's really what mindfulness programs are all about. So just a couple points. Mindfulness is designed to decrease stress, increase self-awareness, improve attention and focus. That's really what it is. It's about metacognition, and it's about teaching kids to think about thinking. There's a lot of benefits when we are successfully able to get kids to be able to think about thinking, to notice that they're noticing things. And it's a complement to SEL programming. It's not SEL programming. And it's more about an inside-out approach versus an outside-in approach, meaning, we can sit. This is nothing new. We've been doing this in morning meeting for the 10 years that I've been the principal at the Berkland School. And we talk to kids about being respectful and what it means to be a good friend. But it's different when a teacher is saying it to a kid and we're actually taking steps to start to have them become more present and aware that maybe they're talking too much and their friends don't like that, or they're not focused and they're not paying attention. And one of the things we struggle with is our adjustment counselor, our school psychologists who service kids. They both have caseloads in my building, well over 100 kids. So if we can't actively teach some of these things in the classroom, we're exporting responsibility for the teaching of some of these skills to 2 people in a building, and it's completely overwhelming. And we're seeing an increase in this. I think everybody would agree. The amount of screen time kids have, their ability to stay focused and pay attention in class is decreasing. So in many ways, we're fighting an uphill battle. I think one of the things I did want to touch on is what Calmer Choice is not, because I think we've heard some questions about this. It's not a sex ed program. It's not religious. And it's not a program that really deals at all with social justice, diversity, equity, critical race theory, gender identity, any of that. And I know there's a lot of angst about that. One of the things I did just want to say is that is something that eventually, as a district, we're going to need to talk about. I know, Mrs. Lyons, we've been talking about this a lot. This is not, we're not going to try to approach this topic in some sneaky backdoor way by sneaking in a mindfulness program or some SEL program that has some of this embedded somewhere in it. We are going to be open, be transparent, have those conversations, but this is in by no means has anything to do with any of that, so.
We'll go to the questions after, and I'm going to let them present and then come back to questions.
I,
No,
I-
we can come back to it. We're going to let them present.
I may address it, and I'll come back and I'll speak to it. I don't have that many slides, so I'll come back to your question. So Calmer Choice is a mindfulness program, as I said. If we're ready for the next slide, if we could pop onto it. This is really just why we chose Calmer Choice. We had a team of folks from both schools, and we looked at Calmer Choice, Mind Up, Center for Resilience and Mindful Schools. We looked at 4 different programs, and there's a lot of research to support the Calmer Choice program, so that was one of the main reasons. But honestly, the biggest reason was that their instructors came to us. Their instructors were trained, and I think we were just a little bit anxious about what it would look like to just give materials on mindfulness to teachers, maybe without the same level of training and support, to just kind of move forward in the classroom. So I think we felt a little bit more comfortable with this program because of the amount of support that they offered in the training that the staff had. So we're ready for the next slide. And so how does it work? It's 2 times a week for 20 minutes. It's worked into the morning meeting time that teachers have every day. We have our teachers from 9 to 9:30 roughly, usually have a morning meeting, and that's generally when it's worked in. Unfortunately, with Calmer Choice, because of the schedule, we had to build it in throughout the day for 20 minutes, but the intention is that eventually this is part of something that's worked into their morning meetings. So the scheduling during the 8 weeks is less than ideal, but the intention is that it's something that's worked into the morning meeting, not necessarily taking away from learning time. And the topics here you can see, there's a number of them listed, like mindful breathing, helping kids understand the brain, understanding thinking, the stress response. One of the things I explain to people, because the question has come up, like, is there a place for this in school? I think what I hope people understand is there is a set of prerequisite expectations that we have on our students to be successful in schools that we don't talk enough about, honestly. If we want a kid to, and I use this example all the time, to be able to understand an author's purpose and understand that an author has feelings, and that's why they wrote the book, or the characters in the book has feelings, but we're talking to a student who doesn't care about the kid who's sitting next to them and has yet to develop that empathy, it is important that a teacher teaches these skills. This is part of what we've been doing in education for hundreds of years, honestly. As long as I've been in education, we've been doing this. It's just not always been explicitly acknowledged and formally taught, I guess. And we're trying to do a better job explicitly teaching for the expectations that we have for kids, not just expecting them to jump right in and meet expectations that they struggle with. So mindfulness is an important part of that approach. Miss Stephanie is one of the instructors on our end, and she leaves an envelope for kids. I just thought this was a powerful thing to share, and this is the last couple slides here, where kids could ask questions. I have so many examples of powerful examples of things that kids are learning, but these were some of the examples that 2nd grade kids were asking. Why can't I focus? I know kids are noisy, but I can't stop doing things wrong. Please help. How can you listen if there's a lot of noise around you? Why are we talking about listening? Why do I always get done with my work first? So pretty insightful questions from 2nd graders. And then the next slide, there's a picture that I thought, this is just one of many examples I could show, but in this particular picture, this girl drew all the students in classroom. This is her perception I know this girl, and this isn't necessarily accurate, but this is her perception, where she has all the kids in her class drawn, and she had all their names above it. We blacked it out, but she put a check mark next to all of the other kids in class, because in her perception, all the kids are doing what they're supposed to do, but she can't focus. And so she wrote, "Dear Miss Stephanie, how do you know to focus on some things that you don't know? I always get distracted." And this is a big part of what mindfulness is about, is just taking a moment to just slow down and relax. I do what's called a stop and arrive. This is something they do with the kids, with my staff in a staff meeting, where it's really just, a minute and a half of quiet time, where, that we play, it's a recorded voice, and the gentleman is just saying to people, pay attention to the sounds in the room, just relax, take a breath. It's a minute and a half. And to a T, my staff have all said, that was the first time all day that I didn't do anything. And my question to the staff when we've done that is, imagine what it's like to be a kid. We're just going all day long. At some point, we just need to slow down and take a breath. And that's really what the mindfulness program is about. So I don't think we have any more slides up there.
I wanted to share, we had an event last night and tonight at Mary Kay Good, and at least 4 families had spoken to me yesterday regarding that their child's using some of the techniques at home and talking the language, the calming. One specific story that was shared with me, I do want to share. A mom had brought her child to a doctor's appointment yesterday, a wellness appointment, and the child was very anxious and very nervous, as most children are going to the doctor. And when the doctor came in, he was doing his 5-finger breathing that he had learned during this time, during his class. And the doctor noticed and asked him about it. And he said, this is a first grader. I'm very nervous to see you, and I'm doing my 5-finger breathing, and it's helping me to relax. And he looked, and the doctor was quite impressed. A local physician was very impressed that he had the language to speak and was able to use it, and wasn't asking for help from his parent, he was very impressed that we were having a program where kids are learning techniques to be able to, like you said, slow themselves down, work on those stressful situations, and not having to look outside, really looking within to help them.
And I know you had a question. If
Yep.
we bring that slide back up, if you need us to.
So honestly, I don't have a huge problem with mindfulness. There's a lot of aspects of it that are good.
Yeah.
SEL is a broad umbrella
Yeah.
that can cover a lot of different things. I think programs like this, first of all, need to be optional, like right up front, not, oh, if you have an issue with it, when you find out about it, you can call and pull your kids. Yeah, we know we can do that. But there should be something that comes home before a program like this is implemented with a curriculum overview, so parents can see if there's anything concerning for them specifically and their children, because all children develop their coping skills differently. There doesn't have to be a specific standard developed that all kids need to abide by, because what is that going to lead to in the future? And one of the things that were alarming to us when I talked to you, Lisa, about our concerns, when we got the letter about Calmer Choice, before it already started at MKG, which was upsetting to me, because I would have liked to review this curriculum before I say my kids can sit in on it. And I mean, I have an autistic son. He does a lot of SEL stuff. I'm fine with that. But there's certain things that I'm not okay with, too. And when I reviewed the overview from Calmer Choice, they based their curriculum on, 5 key principles. They say this in their own material. So if they were chosen out of 5 different groups, and you guys really looked into this group and thought this was the best one, you would have seen this. Under equity, anti-bias, efforts and cultural inclusivity, one of the bullet points says, hold on, let me just make sure it's, creating opportunities for staff to engage in open and honest conversation about issues of marginalized groups and other cultural factors such as privilege and power.
So
What does that mean?
So actually, that's not what the program is about. What they're saying in that part, I know the part that you're referencing, is that their program is, I don't know the right word I want to say, that they're like sensitive to those issues. Their staff have been trained in like anti-bias training and trauma-informed practices. The reason for that, the first question they ask us is, can we meet your adjustment counselor and your school psychologist? Because if these issues come up in a classroom, we need to know who to refer them to.
What's considered an issue, though? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want,
They're-
critical race theory does not need to be in our schools. Certainly not in our elementary
Yeah,
schools.
listen, so as I said before, this is not what that is about.
Right.
This is exactly why we chose their program. Because their staff are trained to recognize when these issues are coming up. If you read through further in that, they talk about
I
their
did, I read
mission
the whole
statement
thing.
is to make sure that they do not re-traumatize kids. Because if a student brings up an issue that may be an equity-based issue, they are able to identify that it's an issue and can refer it to us
all
to
the
deal
counselors.
with. In the way that we would deal with it in the building. The fear with having a program where we just hand resources to teachers who may not be trained
Right.
is how are they going to navigate that if that issue comes up?
But
That's
how-
why we didn't select the other programs.
But how is an issue like that going to be addressed for a white child who feels like they're privileged?
Those issues that you're
Because of
talking,
things
those
they're being
issues that
told.
you're talking about are coming up in schools today.
Right, and how are
No,
they dealt with?
This has not got anything to do with this program.
Right.
They are not teaching, this is not what we're getting into. And that's why I said to you before, we recognize there is a need to have this conversation and absolutely recognize that there's anxiety about this and fear about how we're going to navigate it. We are not going to do it in a sneaky way.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're not addressing these issues the way we need to because we haven't had the time to have the conversation that we actually need to have, but this is not that.
But you have to understand as a parent, when we request the curriculum for a program like this, you guys don't have it, so we're referred to Karma Choice. This is what they send us. So if this isn't what they're doing, why is this coming to us as part of the curriculum they're supposed to be sending us?
It's part of the training that their
Yeah, I
teachers
did
have
see the
received.
response. I
Right,
think
yeah.
there's some misunderstanding in
Right.
what they were communicating. They were trying to make sure that you knew their staff are trained in these areas.
I don't really care. You know, what I want to know is what they're doing in my kid's classroom.
Yeah.
Specifically, I want to see the details about the curriculum. I want to see their lesson plans. I specifically asked for that, and that's not what was sent to me. So if you want a parent to trust you and trust these outside organizations, there needs to be transparency, like true transparency. We shouldn't have to request these things. They should be coming to us because these are our kids, and these are sensitive topics. These aren't core academic topics that you expect your kids to learn in school. So when every child has a different upbringing, different morals, ethics, beliefs, religions, whatever, that they are taught in their homes, stuff like this is highly sensitive, and we need to know exactly what's being said. I mean, they're there 2 days a week, 20 minutes a day for 8 weeks. That's a lot of time that they're taking up in our kids', academic career when they're supposed to be learning other things. I get that there's a need for certain kids. I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist. But for programs like this, we need to be aware of every aspect before it's implemented and know that we have the right to either opt in or opt out.
Well, I will challenge you on that because in Massachusetts, really, legally, the only thing parents can opt out of curriculum-wise is sex ed curriculum. And this isn't sex ed
So you're
curriculum.
telling me that if I don't agree with a social emotional learning topic that you guys are implementing on my child to teach them how to specifically think about certain things or how they should feel about things or how they should organize their thoughts or think about how they think, I don't have a say in that as a parent?
No, I'm not saying that we wouldn't be respectful of having those conversations, but I think that you're asking that we should have known, like, that we should be, I don't think, have you ever reviewed our entire math curriculum?
Well, my kids are in first grade, so this is just the start of my children's
And I think
career.
that-
But yeah, if I had a question about it, yes, I would
Okay.
ask to review it, but it's math. I mean, I
Right.
would hope that I have seen crazy word problems in math, but,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I would.
And I think it is, it is something we're learning to navigate and we've spoken several
Yeah.
times. We're all learning to navigate this together.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, the transparency, and we spoke about, when
Yeah.
I explained to you too my concern and the conversation I had too with Karma Choice with that information.
Mm-hmm.
But I think navigating this together is key. I totally agree with that because, it is something that, as Mr. Thompson said, we are going to be moving forward. The world is moving forward with a lot of these topics, and having all stakeholders, not just families, but other members of the community that might not even have children in school, because their children do impact living in this town too. And I think everyone needs to have, you know, a seat at the table in a conversation.
100%, but that's why this program should be optional.
Yeah,
But-
that's a conversation we
that's
need to have as
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's, you know, I don't set
Yeah,
policy.
yeah.
And that's a larger conversation for, I think, the superintendent and school committee as we move forward, but,
Honestly, that's most parents' biggest thing, is transparency. You want to have all these programs for all different kids' needs, great, awesome. But not all kids have the same needs. And not all kids should have to sit through a program like this when they don't need to.
well, I would disagree, and that's where I was saying before, there's.
And you can. When it comes to my kid, it's my
No,
choice.
I understand, we have always had to teach these things to
Right.
kids.
Right, so
It-
why
this
is it so
part of-
standardized now? This is the thing.
It's not
So
standardized.
It is, because there's certain things that you're teaching, certain ways that they need to think and go about things and do things, and it's just, why can't kids just be kids and cope with things differently like we always have? And grow up to be normal, functioning adults like we always have? What's different about now?
Yeah, it's a much bigger conversation, but there's a lot that's much different about now.
No kidding. And a
Right.
lot of it's questionable, and a lot of it is concerning to us as parents.
I think the part that I wanted to make sure that you understand and other people understand is I do recognize there's concern about certain conversations. This is not that. This is not, we're not trying to sneak it in, and I hear you, like you want things to be more transparent. Totally understand that. I have no problem.
Maybe allow a parent to come in and sit in on it and report back
Yeah.
to parents what is actually being done with their kids, with their kids in the classroom.
I-
He already broke the computer.
I have
didn't he?
I have extended that offer to parents on my end of the building. I have no problem. We have nothing to hide. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. We care about kids. We're just trying to.
I'm not doubting that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I trust the teachers with I trust you. You know, but these programs, I do not trust. I do not trust DESE. I do not trust any of these new age programs.
This is a program that's been around for a long time. When I worked in Mashpee, I worked with Commerce Choice 12 and 13 years ago.
I
Like,
have when I looked on their website, I had many issues with their organization and the way that they present themselves and their, you know, what they consider to be important,
Yeah,
things that I find alarming. So not everybody feels that way.
you know, everyone has different opinions. I
Right.
think my concern right now is there's a lot of angst about issues that, you know, Commerce Choice is not really about, but I recognize when you read the materials, there's like reference to certain things, like their staff are trained in anti-bias training, but this isn't an anti-bias curriculum. And the pillars that you're talking about there, that's not Commerce Choices. They're referencing their alignment with another organization, just in terms of their understanding and sensitivity to issues, which is important. If kids start presenting issues that are in line with some of those issues, they need to know where to direct it. That's when mistakes happen. That's when things happen in public schools that you read about on Facebook, where you can't believe a teacher said something.
Right.
It's
And that's
because
what
they
we tried to
weren't given the
avoid.
training,
And
and they were
that's-
asked to teach
Right.
something they
Yeah.
weren't ready to teach.
And that's
we're
fine.
trying to avoid
That's
doing
not
that.
what I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, moving forward, especially with things like this, there needs to be more transparency right up front. Parents need to know, but way before it's implemented, and not when it's brought up as part of the school plan for the following year. I mean, we come to every single school committee meeting, and I don't remember that. You know, I mean, I remember you guys getting up and talking, but I don't remember what you said was going to be part of the school plan the next year. I'm not thinking about that at the time. I'm thinking about the concerns that are going on right then and there. So when this came up, and I talked to Lisa, and she told me, you know, it was said at a school committee meeting, this, that, and the other thing, whatever, you know, to me, that's not enough. Like, that's not okay. And when we ask for the curriculum, I want to see the curriculum. I mean, you guys should have that at your fingertips to hand to a parent if they request it. I don't think that that's too much to ask.
I don't
Yep.
disagree.
Right.
And so we can definitely,
I can certainly forward it to you.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I asked for, and I reached out to the Commerce Choice,
I
and
did think I sent it to you. I'm sorry, I
they-
thought I did.
really,
I
the
do have it.
question should be coming to us. They
Right.
should be coming to us. I think the curriculum companies, they're
Right.
not like, they're generally, we ask them, just direct people back to us, because it gets muddier. The last slide that's up there says, please, if there's questions, just call us, because we're not, that transparency is important. And I think one of the things that's changed lately, unfortunately, things in our society have just gotten so tense. And it's like, we're here for the kids of Middleborough. We need to be able to sit and have a conversation,
Which is
a
good and
real
bad.
conversation, and listen to both sides, everybody's opinion.
It's good and bad because it's making parents hyper-vigilant.
Yeah,
Which is a
and-
good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because it's going to bring up a lot of issues, and unfortunately, that's too bad. Like, that's the way it's going to be because these are our kids. And even though we're all looking out for their best interest, we all have different viewpoints. And everybody has a different outlook on what they think is important for their kids.
As long as I've been in this town, though, I think everyone has been really good about ultimately coming to consensus. It feels like it's changed a little bit over the last couple of years, but it's still the same people with the same goals in mind, trying to do what's best for the kids, the teachers, the administrators, the school committee, everybody. And I think the more we can just have open, honest, respectful dialogue, the better we're going to get there. And one of the challenges, I think, is this issue is completely unpredictable to me. Like, I never would have thought this would be the thing everyone would, I was aware of some of the other things, but then slowly over the last couple months, it seems like some of the SEL curriculum and the concerns about the other issues like gender identity and critical have gotten wrapped up into the same thing, and they're not.
That's
they're
what
separate
they're doing,
issues.
though. This is what I mean. They're sliding it into that umbrella of SEL,
Who's
so now
they?
it's like DESE, you know?
But DESE isn't the
right,
one
that's not
mandating
it,
us.
right.
They're-
I
they're-
understand
the they is
that.
us.
Yes.
But I'm saying, okay, so then if
Right.
you guys are responsible for what slides in under SEL, then if I have questions in the future, I know that it's directly you guys
Yes.
that are doing it.
And when we spoke, I thought you had gotten it from, I thought you had received, because I didn't hear back from you, I thought you had gotten the full curriculum from Sarah.
I read that and I was like,
So-
yeah, no.
So I will send it to you, because I thought you got it from Sarah, so that's why I didn't hear back. So
That's
I will-
all she sent to any of us, like,
Okay. I thought when I didn't hear back, I thought she sent you the whole thing, so I have my computer, I'll send it to you as soon as I go back to my seat.
And we met with them. They weren't trying to not
No,
be transparent.
no,
They were
not at all.
asking us, like, we don't know what you want shared and not shared.
Right.
We weren't really
Just
sure.
share everything.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Share that. That's what you share.
Yeah, I mean, that's not how all those programs and,
Right.
you know, that's not how they're trying to make money to try to sell themselves and have,
Which
you know,
is
they're
why
not
I
all about
pulled my
just
kids.
sending everything
because
out, but,
if they don't want to send everything to me, then they don't need to be
Yeah.
influence my child. That's,
well, we do have it.
you
We
know?
can share it.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. Like I said, I thought Sarah sent it to you, because when I didn't hear back from you, I thought you had gotten it after your email to Sarah, so I will take care of that for you.
okay.
But ask questions too, because
I will.
some of what you see, you know, it seems like some of the things are being misunderstood in terms of what
Yeah.
they are.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
yeah,
guys.
thank you.
I'm going to turn it back up here. Does any member of the committee have questions? Marcy, go right ahead.
First, I'd like to say thank you to Mrs. White and Mr. Thompson for coming and talking about the Calmer Choice. I have received many messages over the last few weeks. I've corresponded with Mrs. White, parents concerned over the program. I think there were two main concerns with the program. One was that there was no advance notification of the program that was implemented within the child's classroom. For example, my own daughter is participating in it, and she's in second grade, and we received a note home in her Tuesday folder about it after the program had already started. So there was no advance notice to the parents that this new program was being implemented within the classroom. And then the other is that there's no comprehensive detailed curriculum that's been provided regarding what these sessions entail. So a few parents did email Sarah because her name was on the paper that came home. And Sarah wasn't exactly helpful to the parents. So then they came to Mrs. White asking for the curriculum. When they told me that their questions were still not answered, I personally reached out to Sarah. And Sarah told me that to contact Mrs. White and that a detailed, comprehensive curriculum was on file at MKG, and I could make an appointment to set up to review it. So then I emailed Mrs. White back again, and she told me to email Mr. Lynch for the information, which I did, and I never actually received a response regarding it. That was over a week ago. So to this day, I still don't have a curriculum. I can't answer anyone's questions, and I know, like, they're directing back to you guys.
So when we get the questions, so we can't just hand it out. We have to get their permission to hand it out because some of it's copyright problems and whatever, so I had to check with that. So once we got the okay, that yes, we could send it, then I have sent it to parents. There are parents that did reach out to me again, and I did send it to them.
Okay.
So they do have it. As a matter of fact, another parent reached out to me asking for specifically what videos her child had seen, and the videos are listed in that. So I reached out to them. She's like, well, I'm not reading 195 pages to find the videos. I'd like to know. So Camera Choice was great. I asked. She was on a retreat. As soon as she got back, she sent them to me, and I emailed those out, the videos.
Okay.
So I do have a copy of,
Okay.
an email version of the curriculum. I'll certainly, like, I send it over. So we just had to wait. We don't know, with them, there's copyright issues. So what we can send and what we can't send, so we had to make sure and get the clearance from them. They've been fine. They've said, sure, share whatever it is that you want to share. You can certainly do that. Like I said, the videos.
Yeah, I've been relying
Yeah.
on my 8-year-old telling me what's going on, and you
And
know how
and
that
to
is.
address-
Like, that's
I
not
did-
always,
I did have an issue with Climate Choice. They didn't give us those papers either, so
Okay.
I had a conversation with Sarah regarding that, because that was a problem for me too, as a principal, that something went out, and that won't happen again.
no,
Because
and
I
just,
was, even the staff, and it was like, things need to come across my desk, and when that didn't happen, and I was also caught off guard that they had sent something home. I was a little taken aback, because I want to know what's on it, and I don't want to, I agree with you, the blurb at the bottom to call, email Sarah, no, my families have a relationship with me.
Right.
I want the questions, I want the concern, not some other person that we don't know,
Right.
this other being. So that will be different, obviously, moving forward. But if a family is requesting, they can certainly send us, an email, and we can certainly forward the information that we have.
okay. And then just, I know, I'm for social emotional learning. I think it's great. I had a child that benefits from it. I understand the need for it in schools. I have no problem with it. But I think that these are new programs that, for my generation, this didn't exist when we were in school. So it goes beyond what most of us parents think is the normal scope of school. So I think when we do these programs in the future, I think it would be helpful if a detailed curriculum is provided to the parents, along with maybe a question and answer night to whoever we choose to do it, like Calmer Choice, to come in, so parents aren't having these questions and they think that these things are going on in the classroom that are not going on in the class. I think it would alleviate a lot of fears
I
and
agree.
anxiety with the parents if they just had this information ahead of
think-
time and up front.
Right, as I said, I think this is a new journey for everyone. I know,
Right.
Speaking with our new superintendent who's coming in, kind of having that, and I look at it that, not just SEL. I mean, it shouldn't be. It should be really a night of what are our kids learning in English and
Right.
language arts, and what are our kids learning in math, and so, it shouldn't just be this
Right.
SEL thing that we do, I look at it more as, what are all of our kids learning in school and in the different areas? So I think that's something we've been talking about doing, the beginning of next school year, kind of a panel discussion or a conversation about what is it that we're learning and teaching. I know there were questions that had come up about Leslie and about the, our literacy program. So those questions have come up. We're going to be looking at math programs, looking at, all of that. I think being transparent, I think is key, because it does avoid a lot of this misperception of what's happening. So I do think that is definitely something we are aware of and want to do and look forward to doing in the future.
Right, great. No, that's pretty much all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? I see.
Am I on? Okay. I just wanted to kind of echo what, I missed her name, the woman who came to talk about the minibus drivers, in the fact that you basically need to be a lawyer to be able to break down like all the laws that surround your child's education and be able to be a parent who is invested and involved, and to know what your rights are as a parent in relation to your child's education. It's honestly just, your head spins, really, if you're not a lawyer or somebody who has studied in like a field of education. I think that, trust has just really deteriorated between starting state legislators, the commissioner of DESE, down to school committee boards, down to educators, between parents, the lack of communication, specifically for this Calmer Choice with me, didn't sit right. I didn't appreciate having my son come home and tell me that he was participating in this program, but only because I had a flyer in front of my face. I didn't appreciate not being able to see a curriculum. Where else? I'm not 100, I did opt my child out. He's in second grade. It's been brought to my attention that the third graders have already finished the curriculum. They had actually finished before the flyer went out. So I mean, can't even imagine how upset I would be if I had a third grader. I'm not in love with the alternative that was provided. As far as I understand, the teacher in the classroom doesn't have any involvement in the Calmer Choice instruction, so I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't love my child being the only one removed from the room and put to sit in front of a computer when screen time has been attributed to the deterioration of the child's minds and being able to think, process their feelings. And I don't disagree with the fact that there are absolute benefits to SEL and programs like this, but when there's no communication, and you see the same charged verbiage in the profiles of actual instructors who come out and implement the program, it doesn't sit right. So I do think that parents should absolutely have the opportunity to opt their children out or into a program like this. And I don't know. I think that Leah said a lot of what I wanted to say. That's it. Just tired. Tired.
Thank you, Derek and Lisa, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you both
Thank you.
for coming tonight and
Thank you.
explaining it. I think we heard the message from the public tonight in terms of what we need to do in the future.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I don't see Ryan Sylvia. I know he had a baseball game, I believe, that was going into extra innings. So we're going to move right on to Mr. Brannigan, who's going to update us on some graduation and senior activities. Mr. Brannigan, thanks for coming.
Hey everyone, I just texted Mr. Sylvia to let him know that he was up. Thanks for letting me come by. I just wanted to give some updates that we are weeks away from celebrating the class of 2022 on one of the largest milestones of their lives with graduation. And we're really excited to be able to be a part of that. I came to you months ago with really the senior calendar and really the approval of all of the final events for the senior class. And so that is still in good form. There's been some minor changes because we wanted to really meet with the senior class officers. Once we got ourselves closer, I do a meeting with the 5 officers and the advisors to go over all the facets of senior week and assigning who's going to be responsible for what and all of that. And I wanted them to make some decisions about certain programs, like our senior barbecue. Last year, we had to do things very differently because we didn't have the opportunity to do things inside, really. Everything had to be outside. We also, with transitioning to the new building and construction, we were limited of really spaces we could do things, especially with parking. So we needed to really be creative in some of those elements. So part of the meeting was to really talk about really, well, what do we really want to do? And do you want to go back to doing some of the things we used to do, especially in the old building, or were these some of these new experiences or changes in experiences, is it something that was attractive? So pretty much everything is staying the same, and I'll just do a really quick overview. To all members of the school committee, you'll be receiving from me the updated calendar of all the events. And to all of the families that are watching, there'll be an updated letter from me with some details as well as the updated calendar. But I thought it was important to share it tonight and then be able to send it out to everybody. Final exams will be taking place on May 24th and May 25th. That we do 2 days of exams where the senior class and senior class only will come in for the morning. They will do their exams, and then they will leave at 10:15, as they've done blocks 1 and 2. They will come in the second day, do blocks 3 and 4, and their official last day academically will be on Wednesday, May 25th. On May 26th, they'll come in. We have a senior meeting in the morning. That is the day that yearbooks will be distributed. And then also, we've made the decision to move the barbecue back to the morning hours of the school day. So it will be that they'll finish the morning meeting with me. We'll all go outside to the quad. At least that's where we're thinking of doing it, where they will get their yearbooks and they will have a nice barbecue, and then they'll be on their way as well. On Friday, May 27th, we had identified that would be a nothing. It was really a day that we had built in where there would only be a makeup day for any seniors that had a certain makeup they needed to do with the school. And what we decided to do is to build a senior memory night that last year had to be embedded within the barbecue, and this year it's going to be a standalone event. And the senior class would like to do that on Friday, May 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Student Commons. So it is just a night just for seniors. It's pizza, it's an ice cream sundae party, it's slideshows, and they get to bring their yearbooks. And it's just really a final night before the busyness of the week ahead. Ultimately, our senior prom is at Grandview in Mendon. So we have had a really great relationship with that facility. And we're really excited to see that event happen for the senior prom on Tuesday, May 31st. But in the morning, it will be the senior breakfast. Wednesday, scholarship night. All of our scholarships are pretty much in good form. And so now we're just waiting to do the final edits and listing, and then ultimately send it out to all of our invitees of the seniors who will be invited to that event. Thursday, June 2nd, senior last assembly. And then, of course, one of the most exciting events is on Friday, June 3rd, which is the Senior Walk, where our students go back in time. They will leave here at the high school at approximately 10:30 in the morning, and they'll make their way in their caps and gowns to all 5 buildings. They will start at the MEC, go to the complex, the Nichols Middle School, and they'll arrive back here to their home. And then, of course, on Saturday, June 4th, is graduation. There has been one change, which I want to thank a parent who had emailed to me and said, what happens if it rains? And in full disclosure, there was never an option it was going to rain in 2020 and 2021, because if it did, you were still going to be outside anyway. And we lucked out with outside events. So ultimately, we needed to now come up with a rain plan. And so we made the decision that this year there would be no tickets to graduation outside, because we really don't need to do tickets outside in the stadium. So if we are outside, that will be the case. However, if we do need to move inside because of rain, we'll be making a decision early on Saturday morning if we need to make that move. And at that time, all of our students ahead of time will be receiving tickets, because if we move inside, there will be tickets, because we just can't fit everybody that you can fit in the stadium. And I'll give more of that information in my correspondence to the families. But those tickets will only be used if it rains. We made the decision not to go to the next day outside, because we know the fact that on that Sunday, June 5th, there's an awful lot of plans for graduation parties, and to have a graduation in the middle of the midday on that stadium turf is not appropriate. So it would have to be in the evening as well, and it just was becoming too complicated. So it would be graduation regardless, rain or shine, will be on Saturday, June 4th as well. And just lastly, if I just may, I just want to thank all the community members and Mrs. Farley for really all the work in the Adopt a Senior program. Really wonderful event that we did in 2020 out of just such a surreal experience, and really how it has become really such a major part of their experience as a senior. And just to really all of the community members, that all 222 seniors have been adopted, and really what a wonderful day for them it will be when they get their gifts. So thank you to the community for that. Any questions or anything?
To be honest, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew what was going on that week and was aware of it, so they could put it in their calendars. Paul does a fantastic job, as does his entire staff for that week, so thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
And we certainly encourage school committee members to attend graduation and hand out diplomas. So you're all welcome to attend if you'd like.
And if I may, just one thing I forgot, Friday, May 20th is future signing day. So for all of our seniors, they'll take their seat to be able to sign what their next steps are in life, and they'll take their pictures on the wall outside the school counseling office. So that will be an exciting day for them. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mr. Brannigan. Up next is Mr. Ryan Sylvia, our athletic director, who's going to talk about summer athletic programming Each year, he just comes to the school committee, describes it, and the school committee generally approves the program. So I would ask that you listen attentively and vote to either approve or not approve. So, Ryan, welcome. How'd the baseball team do?
Not sure. I haven't got the results yet. I've been sitting in the some interviews, so sorry for being a little bit late here. But I did send something over in the Dropbox a little late, so hopefully school committee members had a chance to take a look at it. But it's really not much change from our summer program that we put in place back in 2018, and we've been doing every year since, even through the pandemic. So basically, we try to offer as many athletic opportunities in the summer as we can for the students in Middleborough, really starting in grade 3 for some programs all the way up through grade 12, but it's really dependent on the sport. So we'll do a youth basketball clinic and youth majorette clinic, and really whatever sport that the coaches want to offer. All of these programs are either run as a 4-day clinic, Monday through Thursday, and the times range from they're 3-hour clinics. The early time slots are 9 to 12, and they go all the way to 4 to 7, and all based off the coaches' scheduling. And I work with the coaches to figure that out. So we have, last year we ran 11 clinics. We had about 291 participants. It's not used as a fundraiser or a way to raise money for the athletic department. It basically, it doesn't equal out, but it basically covers the cost of paying the coaches an hourly rate for their time. Some expenses, in the past 2 years, we've done masks. Prior to the pandemic, we did T-shirts, which would be the intention for this year. Every student that participates would get a T-shirt. So we're still working on finalizing that schedule, but it's going to be anywhere in the range from 11 to probably 15 different athletic programs, and that would all be scheduled either on the turf stadium or in the MHS gym, working with the facilities director, Mr. Jim Hutchinson, to make sure that we have space for each program, and coordinating, if there's basketball in the morning, then maybe there's volleyball in the afternoon. There's some of the sports opt for a different format where they might meet throughout the summer rather than 4 days straight. They would do once a week or twice a week. The field hockey program did that. The lacrosse program did that last year. So it's really just managing the facility, making sure that we have everyone in the right spot. The rates vary as well. With the strength and conditioning program, at the lowest level at 75, and all the way up to 200 if we were able to run a golf clinic. The strength and conditioning is a little bit different, where it runs Monday through Thursday for the entire summer, and it has 4 different time slots, so we make sure we group the kids accordingly. 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and 9 a.m. Sometimes we'll drop one of those time slots depending on if we have enough students to fill. So that's kind of a basic summary of what the summer program looks like. That's the piece that really hasn't changed. One new aspect that I've been in discussions with head coach Patrick Kingman and our girls basketball coach Jeff Powers, were summer leagues. A little bit different is these would be high school, only for high school students. And what happens is every summer, our football team and basketball team will participate in a league at another school, where typically 6 to 8 to 10 different schools compete all summer long, once a week. For football, it's a 7-on-7 passing league, and what we'd be looking to do this summer is host that league with 8 area schools on the turf. They would pay a fee to participate. We would oversee. We would have our head coach there present as the supervisor of the activity, as well as myself and the athletic trainer, in kind of a rotation to make sure we have supervision there. And we would coordinate with officials and referees one night a week on Monday nights, so that basically it would keep our students in town rather than heading over to another town to participate in that type of activity. The second piece would be the girls basketball summer league. Similar situation in years past. We've gone over to Apponequet, Old Rochester, Taunton to run those leagues. And this would be, we would be bringing in other schools to compete. Our students would always be participating on the nights that we have. That would be Monday and Wednesday nights. Typically, both of these programs would run from 5 to 8 p.m. I did have a conversation with Jim Hutchinson on making sure facilities would be available, we'd have custodial coverage. But it would be a situation where there would be potentially spectators watching games, and both on the turf and in the gym. So that would be a change, and it was really an opportunity to highlight our facility and give our students a chance to stay in town and not have to travel to participate in these summer activities.
Any questions from the school committee or from the audience?
So Ryan, my only comment is, you've done it for the past 4 summers, it's been fantastic, so thank you for doing that, I appreciate that. Do you have everybody lined up to do it already, pretty much?
Pretty much, we have the coaches lined up. It's really a matter of finalizing the schedule, because we need to make sure. And once that's done, you know, we're going to get it out as soon as possible. The registration process will be the same as last year. I know I didn't mention that, but through Family ID, very similar to the athletics registration, or the same as the athletics registration. Fees are paid the same way through Unibank or a money order. One thing that is important to point out, and it's come up in the past, is that the summer athletic fees are independent from the athletics user fees. So in other words, we have a family cap of $450 for athletics user fees. That any fees that are paid for the summer program are not included in that family cap. So the family cap for user fees is only for the 3 athletic seasons: fall, winter, and spring.
Other questions? Ryan, I had a couple of questions just about the girls' basketball league and the 7-on-7. Is that one team per school, or could it be multiple teams per school?
It would only be 1 team per school. There are situations, you know, some schools run it differently. For us, we like to start it small, and probably stick with it that way. Just all of the schools every school basically would play on every night. So we have football would be Monday nights. There's 8 schools. They rotate through. They reach on half the field. There's officials, 5 to 8 p.m., and then we get them home. Basketball, same thing, only it's Monday nights and Wednesday nights.
Got it. Thank you. That was my
Yep.
question.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you coming.
With that, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the Sachem summer schedule. Do I hear a second? Thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Ryan.
Next on my report is a community event coming up, and I would defer to the chair to talk about
Yes.
this a little bit.
So what we have decided to do, I met with Mr. Brannigan and I met with Carolyn Lyons. On Sunday, May 15th, from 1 to 3, there will be a Meet the Superintendent, new superintendent, not the old one. We've already met him. The Meet the New Superintendent Ice Cream Social here in the cafeteria. So families would be invited and the community would be invited to come. And Mr. Brannigan is going to have some students here who will take families through walkthroughs. So for those families who weren't able to come the day we rededicated the high school, they can also come and take a walk through and see the high school. Again, this is just not for school families, it's for the whole community, and it gives them an opportunity to meet the superintendent, and for those who haven't had the opportunity to walk through this building yet, to do that too. So I thank Mr. Brannigan and Ms. Lyons for working with me on that. That's what we came up with. Any questions about that? Thank you.
Okay, if not, we'll move on to school choice discussion. Each year, the state of Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed requires the school committee to make a decision on whether or not we are going to be a school choice district. And if we are going to be a school choice district, what grades and number of students will allow in under school choice. My first year, we were not a school choice. We added it, and it's been a successful program. We currently have 42 students here who are in our school choice program. What's going on now in this town, as you know, if you've tuned into planning board meetings and tuned into any meetings, we have a building boom going on. And we've had a building boom going on. We currently have, and according to the building inspector yesterday morning, 58 single-family homes being built. And every time I ask him, it's usually 55 to 60 going on constantly. We have apartments going in, a good number of apartments going in. We have land that's being bought up for development and houses that are going up. If you look around and take a drive around town, there's houses going up everywhere. So I do think the school committee needs to sort of keep that in mind. I would tell you that we have one senior graduating. So next year, if we don't add any students to it, we will still have 41. We'll still receive the benefits of having school choice. And then we have a stay put clause that says these kids will stay with us. So that's a consideration. We also have a consideration where we are bursting at certain seams, if you will, population-wise. We had a design enrollment for a new high school that they studied Middleborough, and they said that in 10 years, and this was 7 years ago, in 10 years, our high school would have 678 students in it, or 684 students in it. We argued that. We showed them the growth. We showed them the land masses in East Middleborough and South Middleborough and the potential for build-out. I would say it fell on deaf ears, if you will. They had their 10 growth models, and they said, no, that's not going to happen. This is going to happen. Well, instead of 680 students, the high school opened up this year with 880 students plus. So we are there. They're all accommodated. We're not overbooked. We're not overdone. We have room for them, but I don't think we might not need to invite any more students into the high school and into the district right away. It's something we need to consider. We currently have 3,100 district. There are very few districts that are growing. A lot of districts are not growing, and their population is going down. That was recognized by the Chapter 70 funding, which came to us in the form of $2.149 million this year, additionally, because we had the additional students. So that needs to be considered as we move forward with school choice. This is not a vote tonight. This will be, I'll have some more numbers for you at the next meeting, and would ask a vote for next meeting because according to state law, I have to register the district by June 1st as a school district or not, as a school choice district. The only thing we could look at is potentially kindergarten, which we always have tried to look at, but even that kindergarten, I talked to Katie Goodine, who's our supervisor of numbers, basically our student information management system person for the district, and she is predicting right now we're at 230 for kindergarten. And this year we have just about 230 in kindergarten, 229 exactly in kindergarten as of today. So I do think that's something we need to look at. We sort of are proud that we have low class sizes, and I think we can survive with the low class sizes, and any more would add to those class sizes. So it does add to the treasury of the school system, there's no doubt about it. So there are pros and cons, but it is something that it needs to be discussed and needs to be voted on at the next meeting. If there are any questions about numbers and specific numbers you might want for next time, please let me know. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, so this was initial conversation just to bring up where we're at numbers-wise. I think the high school is concerning to us, as it has been the whole time. I think that there is, the other thing I'll say is while we're at 229 for kindergarten right now, we also tend to pick up people over the summer months.
That's a projection.
Right.
So we have about 200 now, but we project that there'll be 30 more.
So-
She has paperwork on 30 more.
But we also have constant building going on in the community, and so it raised for the superintendent and I a concern that we're at a point where I really think we need to stop with choice until a couple things factor in. One, I think, obviously, this building is new and attracts more students. When Plymouth is online as their new technical school, I think that'll attract some new students too. And so that may alter some plans and ideas of what people have. So there's various things going on around us. So we just have to be wary of it. And also I would point out to people that in 2 cases, 2 high schools have closed that we would traditionally lose kids to. That was Sacred Heart and the Catholic school in Taunton. So those are obviously other choices parents don't have. So that's why there's been the turning towards us. Yes.
I think I just have 2 questions. One is obviously it's a year-by-year decision, so if we stopped choice this year, we could go back into it next year
Sure.
if we felt that. And then my second point would be, you mentioned the 41 students. Well, there'll be 1 graduating, so we would have 41. So if those 41 students stay in district, we receive the funds
Yes, we do.
until those students leave the
And it
district.
pays for a number of teachers in the district.
Okay, thank you.
So there is a financial advantage to having school choice, there's no doubt about it. If we have the room, there's no doubt about that. Just to give you a sense, we have 231 students going from kindergarten to first grade. 237 students going from first grade to second grade to third grade, 229, third grade to fourth grade, 229, fourth grade to fifth grade, 246, fifth grade to sixth grade, 237, sixth grade to seventh, 223, 7 to 8, 240. The big winner here is the eighth grade, 264 students going into the high school with only 213 leaving. So that is almost a 50-student differential. Now, the question is, that 264 does not reflect those students who leave and go to Bristol Plymouth or anywhere else. As far as I know, according to Mrs. Latender, I believe on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, we had the conversation, and at that point, there were 42 confirmed going, but there were also a number of students on the waiting list. So we are looking at possibly, potentially, maybe 50 students. Right now, there are 52 seniors at Bristol Plymouth. There are only 32 freshmen from Middleborough at Bristol Plymouth. So that is an interesting study in numbers. They have a high school that's older than our old high school now, but they're building one new, and that should be done shortly. So those students that get in will experience that school hopefully by halfway through junior or senior year. So that may be something that's they're looking forward to, that might bring the class numbers up from BP. And it's certainly an appropriate choice for those students who want to learn a trade. And God knows we certainly need tradesmen in this world. And women, tradeswomen, sorry, tradespeople. And so moving forward, I think this is a discussion and a decision for the school committee. And if you'd like any more detailed information, I can do that. But it's just really about the numbers, the large numbers, and the population in each school. Mrs. Latenda's at Nichols Middle School will go down in attendance next year because she has that's 264 going and 237 coming in. So there are shifts and balances every year, and we can go more into detail next meeting if you'd like, but that will be a vote you'll need to take. So,
But the problem is that they moved to the high school in those larger numbers than we've seen. Meg, you had a question?
Can we just get some class sizes, numbers
Sure.
for next meeting?
Yep.
Roughly.
Somebody had asked a question, and what about siblings already school choice child? So if there's no school choice opening, siblings will not be allowed to come in.
right, if the school committee votes to not have school choice for next year, that we would not open school choice.
Right.
And basically, the school committee has to decide whether or not we wholesale do not do school choice, or we do school choice, but we do a specific grade or two if there's room. But those are the decisions you'll need to make.
So the other thing to remember is that children currently in our district, because of school choice, can remain. They do remain. They don't have to leave. That doesn't work that way.
So if we don't open for school choice, that means, can we open it specifically for just siblings? Or is that not an option? It has to be like a specific grade?
I would have to look into the law on that.
Okay.
We can't, if I remember correctly, because you have to open school choice to open school choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the specific, that's a good question, Megan. The specifics of that may be in the policy that we revised last year, and I can look into that.
But the other piece is so if the superintendent's right, we'd be opening grades, not numbers. So it would only apply if siblings were in those grades.
Okay.
For example, there's no way I see we can open high school,
Yeah.
right? So if somebody was an eighth grader moving into ninth, they couldn't get in. But if we opened kindergarten, like the superintendent said, then there was that opportunity.
Okay.
Zeke, you had a question?
Yeah, do we have data on how many students move out of the district?
Yes,
from
I can get that for you.
Yeah.
Yep, next meeting.
Any other things that you can think of off the top of your head you want or are looking for? Okay.
Those three things, so class sizes, siblings, rules, and data on students that are going out for school choice. All right, we'll do that. Thank you. If that's it for school choice, we can move on to Sarah Hickey is going to discuss the contract for student transportation services.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Lynch and school committee members. We, as a district, went out to bid for our student transportation services. The laws governing bids are quite clear, and and I have to start with the date that the bid is going to be opened, and then backtrack from there. The law says that there's 4 types of advertisement that have to be done 2 weeks prior to the bid opening. So I selected April 15th as the bid opening, so that meant I had to have all of my legal notifications out by April 1st, so I posted the notification that the bid was going to be opened on March 18th. I posted that in the superintendent's office/business office building. It was posted online at Combis through the state on the 18th as well. I put a legal notice in the Brockton Enterprise on March 25th, and then it was published in the Goods and Services Bulletin on March 28th. I did have an optional pre-bid conference on March 29th. For anyone that was interested, there were a number of vendors that did pick up the bid. The bid was available on March 25th on our website and in my office. We had a number of vendors pick up the bid electronically, and then as I said, on April 15th, we held the bid opening at 11 a.m. Middleborough Public Schools received 2 bids. Student Transportation of America submitted the lowest bid, totaling $7,541,299 over what will be a 3-year contract term. The competing vendor pointed out two issues, raised 2 issues with the bid from Student Transportation of America. They questioned the location of the repair facility, and they questioned the lack of names of repair staff. I want you to know, and I apologize I didn't bring it tonight, but when a company bids, they put together a bid binder. So I have a 3-inch binder from Student Transportation of America, and the binder clearly indicates in the cover letter the intention to secure a lease of an in-town facility to, and I'm going to read the quote, to serve as close proximity for the timely delivery of services, as well as providing operational, administrative, safety training, and maintenance support. So in addition, their binder includes the resume of the terminal manager that will serve Middleborough, as well as job descriptions for future hires for their operation team. Also, the comprehensive maintenance tab in the bid binder outlines their maintenance program, starting with information about their mechanics certifications, all the way through the standardized forms used by their maintenance staff and the drivers to communicate back and forth. Massachusetts General Law 30B requires us to award the contract to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, and that's defined as the bidder who fully complied with all of the bid requirements and whose past performance, reputation, and financial capability is deemed acceptable, and who has offered the most advantageous pricing or cost benefit based on the criteria stipulated in the bid documents. The Office of Inspector General's procurement manual states that in determining the responsiveness of a bid, you must waive minor informalities. Student Transportation of America provided the essential information in their bid binder, just not where they should have put it. We're considering that a minor informality and recommend the school committee to vote to award the contract for student transportation services from the time period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025 to Student Transportation of America.
So to start off this discussion, the chair wants to entertain a motion to award the contract to Student Transportation Services of America. Do I hear a second?
Second. So
As far as discussion goes, there's a couple things I want to say, because I think it's important. As Sarah pointed out, first student brought up to us issues with what they perceived as the bid. I will say a couple things, having bid lots of contracts in the past. You can't put names of people when you don't have the contract to do the work, so you can't put out who you're going to put together for individual people working in that area. Just not going to happen. Same with, there can't be an expectation of an outside company coming in and fulfilling the 15-mile, 30-minute location until they get the contract and put it there. Otherwise, you would have a situation in which the group holding the contract would have an unfair advantage over everyone else bidding the contract. I would also add that Student Transportation Services America is significantly lower than First Student by, I believe, $250,000 over the 3 years. So it's not like it's a situation that's close. It's not a situation that is monetarily, but again, we appreciate that they raised those concerns, but as Sarah said, those concerns have to be viewed as minor and insignificant based on what they presented to us, especially when they have detailed job descriptions for all their staff. So I just wanted to bring that up to the committee because I think it's really important. And with that, is there any other comments or questions?
I just want to clarify, because this gets confusing. The contract we're awarding is for Student Transportation Services. The company we're talking about is Student Transportation of America.
That's the Transportation of America, yeah. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Relevant to this conversation, but I do want to say, just for the public, a thank you to First Student, because I think that obviously we have to go with this, and that's fine, but my own children have been on the buses for many, many years with First Student, and they've always done a really great job, so I just want to personally thank them as a parent in this district.
Absolutely. Any other discussions? Yes.
Okay, so I understand that it will be a different busing company, is that correct?
Correct.
And is it possible that the current drivers that we have servicing the town can get picked up by this company and then they'll be able to continue to serve the town? Is that, I vaguely remember that from the budgeting meeting.
So I would say two things. One is we don't have anything over that because for example,
Understood.
First Student could retain their bus drivers and move them to another contract.
Sure.
Or it's up to the bus company that will be hired. If the school committee votes, there's a representative from that company here, so I'll ask him to come up and just introduce himself after we vote. But I would say that, again, it depends on what's happening as far as the services go.
Right, like it's happened in the past, it could happen before, but not a
Exactly.
certainty. Okay, thank you.
I will say that it's written into the bid that we would like the incoming company to, if at all possible, hire
Onboard them.
the current drivers.
Excellent, thank you.
Any further conversation? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And Sarah, did you want to introduce somebody who's in the audience tonight?
Yes, with us tonight is Tony Murgo, who is the Vice President of Operations for Student Transportation of America. He's here just to answer any questions, should you have any questions for him.
So Tony, welcome, and we appreciate it. And Tony, just so people understand, it's my understanding that you've worked out a provision with the owner of the lot in Middleborough currently, that when First Student is to leave, you would take over that lot as a place your buses would remain.
Yes, that's true. We intend, once the award happens, we will sign a lease tomorrow. So it's already happened, and we'll be signing a lease tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that. I can't tell you how excited I am and getting back into Middleborough. And we're delighted as a company to be here. And to answer the parent question, absolutely want those local drivers. They're the most important. They know the students, they know the roads. So it's absolutely essential that we try to hire every single one of the current drivers. And we'll be getting together with the district probably next week and go over our startup plan.
Thank you. Any
Any
other
further
questions?
questions?
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you coming, and welcome to Middleborough.
Thank you very much. Really excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Have a great day.
And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is just a building project, which is still ongoing. We have a meeting next Wednesday. So at the next meeting, we'll have a little bit more of an update. Does anyone have any specific questions that they have?
Currently, Mr. Chair, through you, we have Robert Auer is on site. Fontaine Brothers continues to be on site working punch list. Currently, we have our fields going in. Our final field that's been developed, the irrigation has gone in this week. They've run into some mud, certainly, and with the rain, but they're going to be putting in a sod field there. They've put up the fence that goes around. It's basically designed as a practice lacrosse field and the continuation of the soccer field. And then the tennis, once those trucks get out of there and the tractors get out of there and off the irrigation site and off the turf site, then the tennis courts will be in. They've engineered all of the net posts and all of the fence posts and the outdoor basketball court that's with that. So those will be the final major steps in terms of what needs to be done towards completion outside of a punch list that's lengthy. And we'll hear more about that next week, and we can ask the public to stay tuned to that meeting because those meetings are on TV, on video.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions about that? Next item on the agenda is to appoint our delegate to the Mass Association of School Committees Conference, which is in November. We usually do this now primarily because if you sign up prior to end of June, you get a discount. And we always like to save the district money. I am planning on going to the conference, as I know is the new superintendent, because we've already had this conversation. So I don't know if anyone else wants to. It is generally the first Wednesday through Saturday in November. And people don't have to make a decision now.
Yeah.
But if people aren't sure, I'd be more than happy to serve as the district representative as I have in the past.
Through you, Mr. Chair, school committee members can attend, if you can only attend one day, you're certainly welcome to do that.
Absolutely.
There's a convention of delegates, there's also workshops for school committee members and legal workshops and the like. So if you can, spare a day, and I know it's difficult with families and with work, et cetera, it's well worth going, well worth attending. So just a little input there.
Are we in discussion? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I'm definitely very interested. There's no limit on how many of us can attend, correct?
No,
If we
whatsoever.
all wanted to go.
If we all
can
want to attend, we can all attend.
All right.
I think I might go this year, too.
All right, cool. That's cool. Good. That's fun. It's a good time. It's nice conversation with different people at different things. So it's very good, and I would recommend it. With that, does anyone know they can go for certain? Okay.
What are the dates again?
It is the first Wednesday in November through the Saturday in November, and I will check that right now.
So I will not be going because that is my children's birthday.
Okay.
So never mind.
Thank you.
I think I would like to at least attend one day, possibly two.
I'll attend every day. I have no qualms.
And I believe, if I recall, last year, the delegate conference was on Saturday. Right?
That I cannot do.
Yeah. That you were away last year.
Was.
Um,
I'll be away next year, too.
I guess you will, but you can still go. That's the only thing. With that, the chair would entertain a motion for delegate to the convention.
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Consent agenda, chair would entertain a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? And the consent agenda includes 3 fundraisers and approval of minutes and warrants. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
To clarify, there was a change, an amendment made on the agenda where the Mary Kay Good Elementary School Penny Wars is actually Nichols Middle School. So that was added as a separate item under other, and that would require a vote this evening because it is a fundraiser.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the Nichols Middle School fundraiser.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
There was a second.
Thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Just to explain, we have a very active parent, Ashley Farini, who works at both schools and both PTAs, and she had the form from the MKG that was for fundraisers, and
Oh.
she just didn't cross off the MKG at the top, so, and she probably didn't notice it, but it came over and had to be crossed off, and that's why it had to be added, so, excuse me.
So our next meeting will be May 19th. The chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session for purpose 3 and purpose 7. Purpose 3 is to comply with strategy to respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. I do declare under union contracts. And purpose 7 is to comply with or act under the authority of any general, special law, or federal grant and aid requirements. It pertains to executive meeting minutes for this reason. We will only return to public session to adjourn. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Requires a roll call vote. Marcy?
Roll call.
Oh. Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice day.